Hello and welcome everyone. We are underway with Harvard versus Yale. I'm just making sure we got all the players followed and the scene is right. We got the scoreboard. What's up, Kim Stud? Undercooked chicken and Eardell. How's it going, everyone? So, yeah, this is Harvard versus Yale. This is a big rival. These two schools, pretty good schools. They don't like each other too much, and they're playing a chess game. So let's check them out. We got two of the four boards set up right now, which is nice. So this is Chocolate Gummy, top board from Harvard, playing against the bottom board from Yale, Firewoods. You're very excited about this match, Kim Stud. Kim Stud, a Yale player, so don't have to think too hard about who he wants to win. So let's see. White is a bit ahead in development here. This pen on the knight is kind of annoying. Knight d4 is probably coming. Hello, White Noise. How's it going? I should probably announce again. I should probably be focusing on this, actually. I have like this break scene that I can use for the intros, which is nice. So I need to get used to that, and I just pop on the stream, make all the announcements while I'm off, and then once it's good to go, just go back live. But um but yeah, it's kind of funny. We set this up unintentionally. Harvard and Yale in the first week. I think if it were up to me, I would have it such that Harvard and Yale play at the end. You know, build up to the rivalry match, but we're getting it out of the way here in the first week. I still don't know why the other players haven't joined yet. We got Chess Webb and Jimmy. This is an important match because Chess Webb and Jimmy are both teams' respective leaders. Jimmy, the captain for Harvard, Chess Webb, the captain for Yale. So Chess Webb's national master, and he's got about 20 rating points, exactly 20 rating points advantage over Jimmy. Go Harvard. The ancient rivalry. What's up, Nate? What's up, Mark? So yeah, you know what's funny? I actually seeing White Noise here reminds me of this a little bit, but I reached out to the one and only Harvard alumni or alum, Mark Esserman, to see if he would want to do commentary today for the Harvard team. Unfortunately, he was busy at this time. But for Yale, I should have reached out to Grandmaster Robert Hess, who was a Yale alum, and that would have been amazing. You feel like Yale is favored. Well, Yale has a very strong player who's not playing right now for some unknown reason. Speed Skater is Yale's new addition to their team. Oh, you know what? I think I spelled Jason's username wrong. I forgot an R. Let me make sure we're following them. All right, there we go. So speaking of Yale's newest addition, Grandmaster Speed Skater at 28-23. So one of the toughest opponents in the entire league. Definitely highest rated in this entire matchup. So Yale's gonna see if their top board's gonna get a lot of work done for them today. So right now, Black is threatening to trap the bishop. So gonna have to figure out something to do here. Maybe push here and then get the knight kicked back. So we do see h4, knight d2. Black develops their knight. Probably gonna castle long, although you always set up these tricks. If the king is here, there's tricks like if this queen wasn't here, you could maybe sacrifice, get the bishop in. So what's my rating? So we have a stats command actually. You can put in any chess.com username and the bot will tell you. So apparently I'm just above 2100 at the moment. So would I make it onto one of these teams? Well, Marissa Day is the 4th board for Harvard. So I'm lower rated than that. And Firewoods is the lowest rated opponent for Yale, and I'm lower than that too. So I'm providing official commentary for a match that I could not participate in. Great commentary, Josh. Thank you. I'm mostly talking to chat. But yeah, Firewoods is under a minute now. Chocolate Gummy just under 4 minutes, so huge time disparity. Firewoods is up material though, only a pawn. But they do have a bishop pair. Well, Chocolate Gummy's down, right? But they have the bishop pair, which is always helpful, especially in open positions. This position isn't strikingly open, but you know, if they trade bishops, like the light square bishop would be really nice, attacking all the light square pawns. So I think white would like to trade this knight for the light square bishop if they could orchestrate that somehow. Not entirely sure how to do that, but Chocolate Gummy is just trying to keep up the time pressure, playing quick moves here. Just to check a simple king retreat, nothing crazy. And it's going to be hard for black to actually make progress on this side. This move kind of helps open things up. So that's why the rook was lifted, to help defend the pawn, because white also wants to open up the center, put the rooks towards the middle, and get some counterplay there. In the meantime, black can trade, try to trade down, try to enter with the king perhaps after a move like this. But honestly, down material, you don't want to trade. You want to keep things as positionally difficult as possible. So instead of trading pieces, you simply push the pawn, and you can tell black is playing very quick, right? Every single move white's making, they have a fast response here. But you're not going to flag the opponent too easily, as there is 2-second increment. So you do have to still try your best to make good moves. Chocolate Gummy's putting in some time here to think. This pawn is now weakened, but it's not so easily attacked, as the knight will cover the square. Instead, putting the pawn on h3, very nice move. And only after white closes the h-file does the black rook swing to the center. So now both rooks for white are lined up on the d file. Only 9 seconds for white here. And now the rook's going to be forced off to undouble. Bishop's going to move back. We could maybe see a little back and forth here. No, just rook here. Ah, the bishop is pinned to the rook. So white should be losing material here. We have a counterattack here, but now the pawn attacks another piece. So the knight moves, hitting the bishop. White is attacking 2 pieces. Black sacks the rook here. So now we have 2 bishops versus a rook. This pawn is protected. Oh, and the rook is skewered. That's a resignation. So Chocolate Gummy winning their first game. Let's go look at the leaders now. This is Jimmy versus Dex. A bit of time pressure for Jimmy, is under a minute, but Dex is really close by. Let's put that board up. So Chocolate Gummy winning that game pretty smoothly. Firewoods was in deep time pressure the whole game. I am not a current student, Eardell. I graduated from UCLA 3 years ago. That's usually the case with commentary. I mean, I think it depends. But a lot of events. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, Magnus Carlsen can't really provide in real time commentary for his own games. That would be funny though. What just happened here? So we have a knight move unleashing an attack on the knight and a counter attack on black's knight. So a trade of knights here, but black picking up material, taking a pawn with check. So Jimmy, I believe, was down a pawn initially. From this point, he never takes back because the queen is protecting it, but he gets a nice battery lined up here and gets the pawn back. And after all the trades, I think black is faring a bit better here because this king is very exposed, as well as all these pieces pointing at the king here. And yeah, white's putting themselves into pens, and white also only has 10 seconds. So it's going to be hard for white to get out of this. Looks like Harvard's leader will take down Dex Webster, who's struggling to find a move. Dex is up a pawn though, but yeah, this is a free piece actually. So having to trade a queen for a rook, and the game will shortly be over, I believe. Hitting the bishop, but also eyeing up the back rank. There's nothing you can do here. That's mate in one. All right, Jimmy taking a point out of Yale. Top 2 boards for Harvard, getting points. But the top 2 boards for Yale haven't finished their games yet. So what is going on here? Doraemon, the second best player from Yale, up against Rockdol Fan, Woman FIDE Master Yoon Fan. Both players under a minute. What exactly is going on? This king looks very protected, surrounded by his knights. Black has the bishop pair. So what's going on here? White seems to be up 2 pawns, so that's probably helpful, but they only have 10 seconds. So anyone's bound to make a mistake in this time pressure. Let's check on the top board from Yale really quickly. Looks like he is up a pawn and up a ton of time, over 2 minutes ahead of his opponent. And oh, actually, he's not up a pawn. He's up a piece for 2 pawns. He flagged his opponent. Dirty flag. So Yale answering back. 2 seconds. 1 second. Move. Oh my goodness. All right. The top 2 boards flagged their opponents. Something happened there with that Harvard internet connection or something. I don't know. They paused. They realized they were on stream. And they froze up. They got nervous. As soon as I pull up their games, they just stopped moving. The pressure got to them. But we're moving on to round 2. All evened up now, 2-2. Harvard taking the first 2. Yale taking the second 2. And here we got Jimmy versus Fire Woods. So both players about 2,300. Should be an interesting match. Anyone's game. Firewood's got that Hikaru flair. So you got a Hikaru fan. Jimmy, he's got no flair. But he does have about 50 rating points in his favor. So we'll see. Jimmy might leave all the flair for his chess play. So what do we do with the bishop? The bishop was attacked by the knight and didn't even flinch. White just continued development, and now the pawn asks the bishop a question for the second time. If the bishop goes back, you're going to lose it, so you don't want to do that. Technically, black would take with check first and only then trap the bishop, so you can't go back this way. There's nothing for you to take this way, so you have to go back, and deciding to go to d3. So d3 is a bit awkward. We would love to move our d pawn to get the bishop out into the game, but the bishop is blocking that pawn. So the knight makes a move because the c pawn wants to move. Maybe the bishop will tuck back, and then we'll have d4. So kind of like a delayed Sicilian like Alapin or something. Yeah, so we do see c3. The bishop might find its way to c2. And then we'll see d4. That's the plan here. We have another game that started. This is Chocolate Gummy versus Dex Web. Speed Web. No, Chess Web. So what is going on here exactly? White's just looking to get castled. These pieces here makes me feel like they're going to get forked. The queen steps aside. Knight here is going to hit the bishop as well as the pawn. Probably bishop back. Bishop here threatening to take this and also take this. Probably you'd see this move, solidifying the center. Here we have another game that started. Marissa Day versus Doraemon. Okay, so the queen defending this pawn. This bishop wants to come out and play either fianchetto or a6. Both sides castle the king side. Again, Doraemon's also got that flair. Let's see, the Yale players have their flair. Oh, Chocolate Gummy's got the Thanksgiving turkey here. Although I don't know if they celebrate Thanksgiving as they're from Germany. So I don't know what the tradition is there. And I'm waiting for the fourth game to start. I'm not seeing Speed Skater. Speed Skater versus Yoon Fan. So what's going on in this game? Chess Web wins an extra early pawn as well. So yeah. Looks like Chocolate Gummy is given up a pawn in the center. A gambit, if you will. And Dex Web has connect 4. And a connected pass pawn at the end of it. So looks like that extra pawn Chocolate Gummy gave up is going to be there for a while. And it's going to be a long-term advantage for sure. Hello, Chess Jawa. Good to see you. So yeah, I don't know how White's going to deal with this threat. Or not this threat, but this long-term weakness. Which is Black's long-term advantage, is the passed pawn. The connected passed pawn. It's very strong. This bishop's kind of trapped in a little bit. Perhaps you're going to try to break through by moving this knight out of the way and getting the f pawn involved. That does kind of weaken the king side, though. Okay, so the queen pins the knight to the king, and now the bishop pins the pawn to the queen. So the threat is knight takes pawn, but Black will simply castle, I suspect, and get out of both pins at the same time. Well, not this pin, but knight takes right now is the threat. So should Chess Web see it, it should be defended, I expect. I think I'm pretty confident he'll respond to this. I would be surprised if White gets away with taking here. So let's see how to react. So getting the queen out of this pen, the knight goes back, and I think we will see this f4 pawn break. Whenever you have a strong pawn chain in your position and you want to get rid of it, you got to attack the base. So f4 is a start. Black does not have to respond to this, as the pawn is sufficiently defended by yet another pawn. So here, Black moves the rook over, trying to advance the b pawn. The queen steps in the way, saying, "You will go no further." It could go one move, but black opts for castling short side instead. Yeah, still missing Speed Skater's game, unfortunate. So I don't know what's going on there. After he flagged his opponent, then his internet crashed shortly after. They're taking turns. His challenge is not being accepted. Well, yeah, I'm not sure what to do about that, but maybe I could start their game for them. But I don't know who's supposed to be what color, unfortunately. Maybe if they told me. Although I would prefer them to figure out their challenge settings. Probably the opponent can't accept challenges or something. It's weird stuff. Weird stuff, man. Some players just don't want to receive challenges, or they have like a parameter of like you must be this strong in rating to play me. Something like that. I don't know. But anyways, the games we do have though. Dex is still up a pawn since the beginning of the game. White's really trying to just control this pawn. So White has 3 pieces covering b5. b5 is played anyways. I thought that was a free pawn. So Dex returning the generosity, giving the pawn back. Takes. Maybe like knight here at the end of it. I really don't know. I mean, you could take this pawn then. So yeah, not even taking. I don't even know what's going on. Northumberland Q cheering on for Dex. The time, yeah, wasn't Dex in time pressure last game as well? What is Dex's board 3? He lost to Jimmy. Now he's up against board 1, Chocolate Gummy, so we've got 3 heavy pieces on the C file. Likely to see some trades, either initiated by white or by black. So in the last game we saw of Chocolate Gummy, they did really well managing their time, and here black is trying to force the issue. Both players are at a standoff. Black is saying, take me. White say, no, you take me. Here we go. There's the f4 pawn break. So this is a threat to win material. So the knight actually defends the pawn, but the knight can be taken in a couple of different ways. But black wants to just reinforce these pawns, saying, go ahead, take here. I don't care. Because this pawn's going to move with the discovery on the king. Maybe bishop can come back this way. Like if you take like this, like the pawn's just hitting the bishop. I think you could take twice though. No? Maybe you lose this in the end. I think white should be able to turn this around, especially with the time pressure. So Chocolate Gummy, right? Keeping the pressure on the clock consistently, and then once they get to this kind of position where maybe they can win material or they can turn the tide, they really put in the time to think about how exactly they want to proceed forward and what kind of position they want going into the time scramble. So what exactly happening here, I am not sure. I do know that after pawn push bishop block, pawn takes hits the queen. So yeah, this is actually a really nice move from Dex given the time pressure. And now Chocolate Gummy decides to sack the exchange for a pawn. but already having been down a pawn, they're simply just down in exchange. So yeah, just putting more pressure on the knight. I like this queen move. Denying the queen trade. You don't want to trade down when you're down material. Knight here just defends this, but I think we could win material here. Doraemon lost to Marissa Day. No, they won. They beat Marissa Day. So Marissa Day, bottom board for Harvard, 0 for 2. Firewoods only has 7 seconds. Ooh, this is good for white. It's technically even material, but it's going to be hard to stop this. Ooh, the king is just in time there. But getting a couple pawns, all of them like with check, this should be a win for white. Oh, trading down. Is the king in time? You don't want to pass the H pawn. That was very curious. I thought you would take this extra pawn and be up 2 pawns, but instead they say let's just get the queens off. This king is very awkwardly placed, but I think is in time. I think they want to take here. So, like now the king is forced off the pawn. Yeah, I think king here was a mistake. So now this is completely winning. Take. Yeah, here, I mean, the move order is different, but the end result is the same. Push the pawn again. King here. Push the pawn again, king here, and just GG. So Jimmy with the nice pawn in-game technique. We finally got the match started. Oh, these guys are both under 10 seconds. Chess Web is actually up a lot of material now. So Chocolate Gummy's going to go down. Yeah, that knight c4 move really spent all this time for Chocolate Gummy. I thought for sure that Chocolate Gummy had something there, but I guess not. I think the queen lined up with the king there was too strong for that discovery attack on the rook. So yeah, and you can just promote. And then, well, now the queen here. So white's only hope is stalemate at this point. But it's going to be hard. Perhaps too hard. But they're still trying. So let me give the points to the proper people. Jimmy's won his second game against Firewoods. Doraemon won their second game. And ChessWeb gets checkmate. So DexWeb is on the board. And Yale takes their first lead of the match. Let me go through. Yeah, we saw Jimmy's game at the end of it. Let's look what happened here. This is Doraemon versus Marissa Day. So Marissa Day up a pawn. Trade queens, loses a pawn. And they flagged here? Oh, Marissa Day is flagging. Marissa Day keeps flagging. This is not good. With half the time left on the clock from Doraemon. So Marissa Day needs to pick up the speed. Jason Zhu. So that's not gonna bode well for Harvard. So here we go. This is Yoon Fan. This is a board 3 from Harvard against the top board from Yale. Nicholas from Yale. He's expected to win, I would say, pretty much every game in this matchup. So the other players are definitely going to need to pick up from Harvard, and their bottom 2 boards haven't gotten any points yet. So it's going to be a tough match when half your team can't produce. That being said, Firewoods also hasn't gotten any points either. So, and Yunfan hasn't finished this game either. So let's see. Yunfan offering a queen trade. Saying, go ahead and take me. Speed Skater says no. I'd prefer to have the queens on. Thank you very much. No flight square for the king. We might see that addressed now. I think after knight takes, yeah, so there's pawn takes, reinforcing this pawn. This is an isolated pawn here. We have 3 attackers on it at the moment. 3 defenders. But the knight can reroute here now. So we do have the flight square. If the knight lands here, which it does, we need some extra support over this pawn. So likely rook d7 is my guess. But yeah, Speed Skater does not want to trade queens because then that will allow the pawn to capture and it will no longer be isolated. So now, can white take this pawn? That is the question everybody's asking. And the problem that I see right now is that after taking, rook here will pin the knight to the queen. So you would have to take first with the knight. You can't just go here because then there's this trade with check. Or is there? Yeah. So white is not yet prepared to take on d5. And looks like black might continue the pawn advance. Maybe even queen here. Try to activate the pieces. Yes. And once again asking for a queen trade. So white's saying, all right, if you want a queen trade, you got to take me because I ain't taking you. Queen takes queen, rook takes, and you fork the knight and the pawn, although the knight is defended. But we do have a queen trade here. The rook has no entry on these squares because the knight and the rook covers that. But the rook could go here. I don't know if they would want to. But the knight is kicked. Now the knight hits this pawn and this pawn. That is a fork. I don't know if any of you guys have fork knight emotes, but looks like Speed Skater is going to try to grind out this advantage. Oh, Chocolate Gummy played someone that wasn't playing in the Cleated Chess League. And they won with checkmate. Was this a bullet game? They played a quick bullet match in between rounds. I don't know if I've seen this before, but they won their game. This doesn't count towards the competition. They were down in exchange. But then they had checkmate. So, yeah. Not too shabby. Not too shabby from the Chocolate Gummy. So he's got that quick bullet game in. He's warmed up. And now he's playing his actual match against Doraemon. So we'll see if that bullet speed is going to impact his performance here. Let's go back to Speed Skater here. These 2 games that they've started, these are round 3 games, I believe. This is still round 2. So we're waiting for this one to finish. I think Speed Skater should be able to convert, making sure they're protecting all the pawns. Yeah, just being annoying. Trying to trade off the rook, saying, hey, I don't like you attacking all my pawns. I would like you to stop, please. And black says, no, I think I'll keep the rook on. Maybe go here now. Go here. Yeah, attack this one. So no, probably here. And then probably here now. Because where else are you going to go? You're going to go here? No. So this is kind of an only move at this point. Okay. So white has protected all the pawns successfully and somewhat forced the king out of its camp. The rook's like, all right, let me activate. And black rook says, okay, I'll take that file. And the knight says, don't touch my pawns. So black is trying to be as annoying as possible. Trying to trade off these pawns here. Yoon is under a minute, technically. Speed Skater, not that far ahead in time, but to be up material and up in time is better than the alternative. Finally deciding to move the rook and going to the completely open file where it is uncontested, so perhaps a check to be given and to chase down this pawn. I think black maybe could have tried for king d6 to try to prevent this, but the rook was going to enter regardless, and I think black is going to start losing material here. Oh, that just drops the knight, my friend. Oh, but this knight is hanging as well. Okay, so the rook goes back. Black called the bluff, saying, hey, if you want to take, I'm down. We'll trade off here. Black now advancing this way. So let's see. The pawn is hanging. White can make a connected pass pawn, which they do. So that one extra pawn is now passed. And white could also make a second pass pawn if they wanted to. This knight looks well placed, but the pieces are well placed to counteract the knight. So I always like a rook that is 2 squares diagonal of the knight. Because the rook kind of takes away a lot of these jumping squares. And yeah, white just simply trading down rooks here. And actually, material is balanced now. So black's like, let's trade. So yeah, black was able to get these pawns back. So the annoying rook has done its job. And white's going to win this because this pawn is not protected. And this pawn is. So the king is tied down to this pawn. Yeah, the king should gobble this up. Yeah, so trading was not the best plan for black. Even though the material was even, this pawn is isolated. And this pawn is connected and passed. So the king here has limitations. He's basically like tied down to this. This king is free. This king can travel. You know, he can try the finer things on the chessboard, and that includes free pawns. And yeah, Yoon loses to the Grandmaster. So Yale is adding on to their lead. Their top boards are undefeated so far. And they are up 5-3 at halftime. So we had 2 round 3 games start already. We got Chocolate Gummy versus Doraemon. So Doraemon is 2 for 2. Chocolate Gummy is only 1 for 2. He is Harvard's top board, so he's going to try to bounce back here. He is favorited in terms of rating. He's only up like a couple points, but if Harvard's going to win this match, they're going to need their top players to perform. And they're also going to need their bottom players to perform as well. They're going to need to be firing on all fronts. Yale's going to try to put this away. They're only 3 points away from 8. They need 3.5 for a clear win. And there are 2 rounds left, so 8 games total left in the match. So let's look at, this is the second game that started. Marissa Day is in constant time pressure. Harvard might have done their scouting report, and they're like, yo, you know their 4th board Jason? Flag them every time. Just play fast. Look at this, 2 minutes to 30 seconds. But Marissa Day is up material. Not anymore. I was hopeful for a second. Okay, knight here. Is this annoying? Queen here. So knight hits the queen regardless. You can go here and maybe pin the knight to checkmate. Although the knight could go here to defend. You don't really want to get in a pin here. But also you don't want to go here because of the fork. So maybe this. No, this would be hanging too because the knight checked this way with the discovery on the queen. So yeah, I guess no good queen moves. Deciding to trade off the bishop for the knight, which is unfortunate. This bishop was really well placed on the long diagonal. Yeah, I see the fork. I saw it. It took me a second, but we saw it. But okay, what do we have here? We have an equal pawn and bishop, queen and rook kind of middle game here. I like white because of this extra space, I think. And also, if you convert these pawns to dark square pawns, this bishop's going to be kind of staring off into space. White might actually want to trade here, which is interesting to me because when you have a fianchetto bishop like this, you're going to have a lot of light square weaknesses without the bishop around. Whereas black's light square bishop is not a fianchetto bishop. It's only covering this diagonal. So this bishop advances, hitting the rook. I would be surprised to see this, but you only have 3 seconds. 2, 1, don't flag again. Oh my gosh. If you flag 3 times in a row, something's got to change. Something's got to give. Chess web. Can they flag? They're going to double the rooks on the d file. Yeah, white's saying, let's get these bishops off. I'd be okay with this, honestly, as black. But the truth... Oh my god, 1 second. Oh no. Yeah, I like this move as well because you don't want to trade yet. 1 second. Oh my god. Every single move Marissa Day has to make immediately. Dude, how about pawn here? Try to get the queen in on these squares. Look at this move. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh. Dude, you can't play like this. You can't play like this. Okay, this doesn't work now because queen takes. Probably queen here regardless. Like, this king is feeling very uneasy. If the queen and the rook were swapped, like taking here to get here would be really nice. Like if this was a queen and this was also a queen. If black had 2 queens, they'd be winning. No, okay, so oh my god. Look at the speed. This is just nerve-wracking. 3 seconds to 20. Going after this guy. If the pawn was here still, that would be back rank mate. Ah, this is really nice. Yeah, black should be in the in the driver's seat here. That's now a passed pawn, that F pawn, and it's very passed. It's not connected, but oh, taking here first, and then okay, here I guess black wants to take here as well. Would you push the pawn first? Yes. King here, though. Oh, but you take. Black cannot trade. They should take this pawn for sure. I don't know why they're contemplating this. Okay. So both sides with the passed pawn now. This is one of those rook and pawn in games that's like completely equal. But Marissa Day somehow has not flagged yet, which is great news. Check is interesting. You cannot take with the rook, as rook check would then win this rook. So white's taken the space here, which I like a lot. And now this pawn is very weak and, in fact, unsavable. I think white might actually be a little bit better here. White's definitely better. So Marissa Day playing in time pressure. And this is another pawn that's going to fall with check. Wow. What a turnaround. Oh, and taking here. I don't know if I would take there because this pawn I thought was pretty valuable. So only up 1 pawn. This could still very well be in draw territory. Let's check here maybe. So this king is cut off. This king is where he needs to be. Check and the king. Oh, just giving this up? Oh no. Chess web is going to go down. Oh, offer draw here. Okay, so that actually makes sense. They accepted. All right. Wow. So Marissa Day is on the board. Now it's Chocolate Gummy that's in time pressure. So let's give that half a point to Marissa Day. They did not flag despite being under a second on the clock for multiple moves in a row. Marissa Day is giving me anxiety as well. Okay, let's see. Under 10 seconds. Chocolate Gummy trades down. Yeah, so Doraemon's up big time. Piece and a pawn. Even without the piece advantage, white would still be favorited. So the rook's going to try to cut off the king. The rook's going to try to enter. Yeah, check, and now the king is entering. Here to guard. Luckily for black, all the pieces are on dark squares. But unluckily for black, they're still down a lot of material. So, as well as down on time. Yeah, this is too strong. Rook here now. GG. You can take with check, but your checks are going to run out. You can't get the rook to the d file unless the king messes up. So, yeah, that's last ditch effort. And hoping for a stalemate. We've seen Chocolate Gummy go for that a couple of times, I think, now. But Doraemon with a huge point against the top board from Harvard. So the bullet game did not warm up Chocolate Gummy enough, unfortunately. Might have won the bullet game, but lost the match game. So now Yale is only 2 points away from a match victory. What's going on here? So this queen is pretty active, not gonna lie. And maybe a rook lift and over could be interesting. This is a well-placed knight. This knight is boxing out the bishop entirely, and there's no pawn that's going to kick the knight out. So this is what we call an outpost square. Not only is it affecting the bishop, but it's also playing a defensive role, guarding these 2 pawns. So yes, white will try to lift the rook. The queen is here in time to try to trade down. So the queen wants to stay on the board. Queen is a pretty good defensive piece here, acting as a fianchettoed bishop, essentially. Probably you want to double rooks at some point, but there's really no reward here as the knight's guarding us, and you're going to drop the b pawn. So the b pawn is pushed. Let's check out Speed Skater and Jimmy. Speed Skater is up. And they are up. What exactly? They're up in exchange and a pawn. And perhaps soon another pawn. Bishop here to attack the knight that's hanging. That's also defending the rook, although the rook is also defended. Okay, so takes a pawn, hits the bishop. Defends this pawn. Jimmy's low on time. Bishop tucks back. This bishop tucks back. So Jimmy got a pawn back. He's still down in exchange. His king is pretty weak. These rooks are pretty strong. Yeah, rooks coming in, trading off here, and yeah, queen here this is too much. Queen defends this, but there was mate in 1. Jimmy resigns before his opponent could play it. All right, let's see here. So yeah, Yale needs 1 point left. Harvard's going to need to win out. If they win 5 games in a row, they will win this match. Otherwise, Harvard beats Yale. So can Yoon keep the comeback hopes alive for the final sweep in the 4th round? Can she do it? Firewoods doesn't have that much time left. They got the pre-moves enabled, though. That's always a good sign. Are they going to take this? No, they're going to take this one first. Okay. Check. Check. Here? Mm-hmm. How do you want to take this? You can't because of back rank. Your rook is hanging. Your king is hanging. Black should win this. Threatening that with the skewer. Still going to take this with check, though. And black is threatening to win the queen with this last move. So probably you want to bring the rook back at some point to cover this. Or you can keep checking. Just keep checking. Yeah, black could take the draw here, I think. They decide not to. They're like, you know what? Let's play on. So after another check. Oh, but takes with check. What's going on here? Block. Another check. King has to go here. Uh-oh. There's no... Is there a mate? There's no rook check. Queen check. Oh my god. What on... That's mate, no? Excuse... That's mate. That's mate in one. Oh my goodness. Yoon. She finds it. She pulls off the comeback. I mean, black should have taken the draw, honestly. They were greedy, and then they had to pay the price. The king got a little too active, flew a little too close to the sun. And yeah, Yoon gets on the board. That is her first point. Keeping the comeback hopes and dreams of Harvard alive. Harvard has a chance to win this. All they have to do, it's very simple. Win all 4 of these games. So that starts here with Chocolate Gummy versus Speed Skater. Speed Skater has yet to lose a game. Same with Doraemon. So Harvard's going to have to hand them both their first losses of the day. So this is some sort of theory. Evan's Gambit, right? This is some sort of counter gambit. The Leon Hart's counter gambit is what I'm being told. What happens if it's 8-8? It results in a tie. I strongly suspect that Yale will be able to find 1 win out of the next 4 games. But we shall see. All 4 games are underway. Firewoods and Marissa Day have just started. Marissa Day has only a draw out of all the previous games, but Firewoods has not won a single game yet. Their last game was very close. And then they lost to Yoon. So let's see what's happening here. We have a Roy Lopez, Berlin defense. Is this like the famous draw line? I don't know. You just trade down here. Who knows? Certainly I don't. I don't really like the Roy Lopez. I tend to play the Marshall Gambit against it whenever I can, whenever white plays c3. A lot of people don't play c3 though. And some people, when they do play c3, they don't allow for the Marshall Gambit. They won't accept it or something. All right. Chessweb versus Yoon. Can Yoon get another point here at the end? Yoon pulled off the upset last game. Yoon is underrated, and they're underrated in this matchup as well. Let's see, Speed Skater and Chocolate Gummy. Yeah, let's stick with this board. These are the top 2 players. Jimmy and Doraemon also would be a very interesting match. Jimmy is Harvard's top performing player. Doraemon's 3 out of 3. And yeah, Evan's Gambit's always a fun position. So strong center for white with the pawns. Both sides castled king side. Very open board. Good for the bishops. The queen would like to join the party at some point. So yeah, black has to play in the center. Trying to close out this bishop. Maybe black just passes here. You give up the square though, for sure. So continuing on with f5, saying, I don't care about this pawn. I want to play f6. I want to play f6, and I want to attack you. So black says, you know what? I'm going to play f6. So what now? White's like, well, you've weakened your king, and you're no longer threatening to take here. because this is a pin. So I've gotten something out of this move, right? So that's nice. So what's the next step? I like bishop here, maybe pawn push. So instead queen here, maybe bishop here is a threat. King steps out of both this pin and this pin in one move. 2 for 1. I'm flipping a coin, white noise. All right. We're still pretty early on in this round. No one's in a time scramble yet. You can look at ChessWeb versus Yoon for now. So we got double pawns here. And yeah, this is kind of an interesting move because pawn takes, you can't take with the bishop because then it's pinned. So you would have to take with the pawn, but the bishop and the rook might be annoying. So decides not to take here, even though black would be left with double isolated pawns. They don't want to activate the rook, I suppose. So decisions. Yeah, I don't like the queen opposite the rook. If I'm black here, I would move out of the way, but yeah, maybe, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, bishop here and bishop here is kind of peculiar move situation. But yeah, bishop's asked a question. Bishop maintains the pen. The queen's like, you know what? Who cares if you ruin my pawn structure? I'm going to take this pawn. So, and yeah, we'll see. We'll see if white takes, allowing for the check, intermezzo, recapture. Or if white will address this first and then allow black to save the pawn structure by moving the knight. ChessWeb's thinking here. Let's look at this one again. So black played f6 here too. Pin the rook. Sack a pawn. So Chocolate Gummy sacked the pawn here. They're down a minute as well. Here, Jimmy is down a lot of time. Jimmy's going to get into the time pressure. Jimmy's also down material. So he finally moves the queen. He's got something going here. If black takes here, they're really inviting a lot of tactics into the position. So Doraemon saying, I'm up material. I just want to get the queens off the board. Jimmy's going to decline. He's going to be like, no, I kind of need her. Need her to stick around for a little bit longer, if you don't mind. Because, yeah, he's going to use it for some checkmating ideas, although Jimmy is not moving. Jimmy is lost in time. And, okay, so he finds queen h4. He pre-moves this one. Knight takes, forcing queen trade, basically. If you keep the queens on the board, you're losing the bishop with check. He just resigned. Wow. Well, that is the match for Harvard and Yale. Yale with this last point. The leader, Jimmy, resigning. I guess, like, I don't know. He needs to trade queens and then save the bishop and play on from there, but didn't want to. Let's check out the top board. Doraemon goes flawless, 4 out of 4. And Speed Skater looking to follow suit. Black kicking the queen out of the position. Queen here. Pressure on the knight. Speed skater offering queen trade. And if you don't trade queens, you're going to lose this pawn. So, kind of similar situation as the last game that we saw, except instead of a piece that's hanging at the end, it's a pawn. Yeah, chocolate gummy, no time. But yeah, he does what Jimmy should have done, is trade queens and then just play on from there. So but yeah, the time situation is not helpful at all. Let's check out Yoon against Chessweb. Chessweb's also in a bit of a time scramble here. No one has taken yet, which is somewhat surprising to me. Rook here, yeah, pin the bishop, and now we're threatening to take. And if they take, we take. So here. So finally capturing. Bishop takes. Taking here. So winning material. Queen here, strong move, attacking the pawn. Pawn is pinned, but pawn can be defended. If we move the bishop, like bishop here. Seems reasonable. The problem is bishop here. Wow. Wow. Okay, hitting the queen. Good move. Good move here. Queen steps back. Oh, big fork. That's a big fork. Chessweb and time pressure. He's going to go down to Yoon. Yeah, Chessweb missed the fork. Probably needed queen here or something. Wait, rook takes. What? Rook takes. What? Okay. Push the pawn. Yeah, queen takes here, probably not best. I mean, they were still winning, but... Okay, pawn push. A rook here even. Rook here, you blunder mate. That's how quickly things can turn around. So that's why you don't want to give up just yet. Very active bishop here. Takes. Nice. Oh, it takes here though. Oh, not so nice. Yeah, resigns. All right, Yoon. Yoon gets a point. Oh, Firewood's also won their game. So Yoon splits the day. 2 out of 4. We have one game left. Chocolate Gummy is fighting back. They won. Wait, is this winning now? No. He's white. He was down material, I saw. I think you just trade here. I think black should be able to take. Yeah, take. Or I don't know what's going on. Wait, which way am I looking? This pawn should... I apologize, you guys. I completely lost everything. This should be a completely drawn game. Just don't go here. That's all you gotta do. Offer draw. Should be it. Should be the end of the match. Unless they want to get to like 50 move rule. Okay, chocolate gummies continuing on here. I don't know what I'm expecting. GM offer draw again. You just don't go here. And I suspect that he knows that. Also, don't go here now. So there's a couple landmine squares that you're not allowed to step on. And it seems that he's successfully avoided all of them. Oh, you can force a queen trade. Does he do it? He's gonna keep checking, I'm sure. I'm sure. Odds are, yep. Oh, sorry guys, didn't mean to show you that. Yeah, this game's gonna continue a couple additional moves. Let me show you guys. Let's look at Firewoods versus Marissa Day. So Marissa Day only got in a draw. Firewoods gets their first point here. So yeah, the pawns are kind of all weak here, and yeah, if you take back, you lose this. So this move is really nice. This bishop is just hanging. So I actually don't see a good way to save this at this point. So and maybe you just decline the trade. You got to move the bishop out of the way or something. Like here maybe. And yeah, just down a piece. Down on time. Okay, they ended up trading queens. So that was move 86. So yeah, did I give Firewoods their point? What should the score be? No, I did not. So 1 point here and a half point between the top two boards. So Speed Skater did not win all their games, but they didn't lose a single game. Doraemon won every game. And you have a total score of 10-6 in favor of Yale. So that was a fun match. Yale's got a really nice team this season. Harvard, I believe, was missing one of their top 4 players, Jennifer Yu. So Harvard still has a good team, but hard to compete against 2,800 Grandmasters when your team does not have the same kind of, Grandmaster support, I guess you would call it. I don't think Jimmy's not titled. Chocolate Gummy's not titled, apparently. Only Chessweb, Doraemon, and Speed Skater were titled in this match. Oh, sorry, and Yoon. So Yoon's the only titled player for Harvard on their board of 3. But, I mean, Aaron and Jimmy might not be titled officially, but they could definitely beat titled players. But yeah, hard to compare to a GM. So good match from Yale. Strong addition to their club. Speed Skater. I don't know if he's like a freshman or something or what, but it's good to have new players joining the league. I think Yoon Fan is also a new player for Harvard, as well as Jennifer Yu. So hopefully she can join the team as well later this season. But yeah, with that, I think